place, we had one region that was struggling. We had sold that region almost 18 months ago. No action was being done. But the moment we started our Hindi, scripting, we have now that chapter, the first chapter, is going to launch in the middle of June. So I'm very proud of them that we're able to bring in, because I believe we in BNI we only speak the language of referrals, and the language barrier should never be there, right? So this gave me more confidence when I was running countries like China. I'm sitting in a chapter meeting in China and looking at the 20-point agenda, not understanding a word. And this is to have fun with this. This global experience of mine has opened up my mind so much. When I came to Singapore here, I said, okay, Singapore's got 70% of them or 80% are Chinese origin, but there was no Chinese speaking chapters here, only English. I said, why are we not having Chinese speaking chapters? Today, we have now 3 Chinese speaking chapters. We just launched one last week. So language should never be a barrier for referrals. So I want to create the dream. Like I was in a Tamil meeting. I think Rajan Verma has posted here. Tamil, we already have the Tamil script going. We have the Tamil MSP going. I spoke in Tamil to a meeting just now before before coming in here. I wish my Hindi gets more fluent. I'm still making a fool of myself talking in Hindi here and there. But that is the thing. You have to make an attempt. It's okay to make a fool. I'm not asking about being perfect. Okay, imperfect action any day. Imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. You cannot wait till you be perfect and just keep reading and not acting. It's okay to be imperfect. So I was learning Chinese and I went into a chapter and I made a real fool of myself. With Cindy was my interpreter. She's my right hand in China. So uh, Woshi Lama, I'm not sure Sunil, you know some Chinese, right? Woshi Lama is, have you had your breakfast? Have you eaten? And so instead of saying Woshi Lama, I said Nishi Lama. That means I'm a Lama. And my interpreter is looking at me and saying, "Oh," I was talking. She wouldn't like change it. She wouldn't. I said, Cindy, what's happening? Then the whole chapter, it's a large chapter, 84, 85 people, they started laughing. I said, look guys, I can make a fool of myself. Okay, it's perfectly fine. But the thing is that we're at least attempting and making a fool of ourselves. But my dream is to learn Chinese. I will be learning. I do have a teacher now. Her name is Wendy. I am learning on the online platform, and that is something that I would encourage our members to learn too. I encourage our members here on the call. We have 238 of them, and we are broadcasting to a broader audience. Is this is the time where you learn new things and recharge your batteries. Recharge your batteries in the winter time. We dig in, we recharge our batteries, get stronger, learn new things, because when we come out of this, we will be running way ahead of the competition. The very fact, guys, that I was reading a book, Sunil. I'm just going to keep going for a few more minutes here. There's a book called E-Myth, and 2 times Ivan Meisner has mentioned that to us. And even recently, when I was traveling with him, he was talking about how E-Myth impacted him as he built BNI years ago. And in the E-Myth book, they talk about the entrepreneur. Inside the entrepreneur, there are actually 3 different human beings, 3 different people. One is the entrepreneur who wants to go out and make sales and be creative and do all the risks to take. And the other person in the same human is a person who's like, he calls a manager. So there are 3 types of people inside that entrepreneur. One is an entrepreneur, one is a manager, and one is the technician, the person who wants to do and produce the product. So there's always a conflict of interest, especially when you have a technician or somebody who's a good programmer or somebody who's baking cakes, right? They're very good at baking cakes as a passion, and suddenly from baking cakes, they make baking cakes as a business. So they are a technician who suddenly became a business owner, and then comes the conflict. There's a huge conflict between them. So that book I strongly recommend if you are interested in entrepreneurship and books, because if you're a startup or any entrepreneur, you need to understand that there are 3 types of people within us. One is, if you think of the human being, above the head is all the like the entrepreneur, the creativity that's happening. At the feet below is the manager who's kind of uh, grounding us, making sure the systems are in place, the manuals are in place, and all that. And in the middle of us, the hands, is just a technician. I just want to produce the product. Don't bother me about sales. Don't bother me about systems. I just want to produce the product. So there's always a conflict between the 3 of us in the same human being, And that book talks about how to manage that madness and how to take in support and stuff like that. So it's a good book that I learned recently. And I know Pankaj, you're saying something about the value of dress code in BNI, but as many corporates and media is doing Zoom meetings, they'll be yeah. So Pankaj, Nagpal, I think we still need to have our dress code. Okay. So imagine nowadays, because we are on Zoom, right? And sometimes you still have a broadcast coming in from a church or from a temple. But when I have seen any of the broadcasts coming in from a church or temple, I don't see the priest wearing jeans or torn jeans or anything. We still need to dress the part. The more professionally we are dressed, because we are still doing business. I'm still here in a tie. I'm doing business. I'm representing BNI. You're representing your own business. So when you're talking to your clients, that gives a sense of normalcy. I remember Graham was talking to our leadership team the other day and said, Max, the only guy who dresses up, and he was telling us that to display a sense of normalcy, even when there's madness around us, you need to continue being normal. Your family needs to know you're normal. And guys, don't when you're dressing up, dress up fully. Don't just wear a half pant. I'm not wearing a half pant now. I've seen many people who just on the top they wear a coat and suit, at the bottom. When you're doing business, you need to be fully in gear. I was in a meeting yesterday where they said that the guy even wears his shoes and socks. Okay, that's really good. So it just gives you the frame of mind. Okay, I'm dealing with my client today. I need to be dressed the part. Don't relax those for now. Okay, because that does have a very good image. And I'm here, Minister MPS Sunil. I'm going to keep quiet now.
Namaskar. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Namaskar, sir, and thank you for coming in. Sir, हमारे साथ हमारे ग्लोबल वाइस प्रेसिडेंट मैक्स श्रीनिवास ने हमारे साथ वो सिंगापुर से, he is joining us from Singapore, sir.
Sir.
Mr. Dr. GP Rao, he is our very senior with us. So we all will be panelists, sir, and we'll be very eager to hear you. And then thank you for the opportunity and being with us, sir. Mark, if you wish to speak to him.
Yeah, so thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. We are a group of entrepreneurs across the world. We are in 70 countries, and our organization is about 70 plus countries, sir. Over 70 countries. My Hindi is a little broken, sir, so if it's okay, I'll just talk in English. I'll make a fool of myself by talking Hindi. Though I studied Hindi in India when I grew up. We are having about 270,000 entrepreneurs, sir. All of us are small and medium scale entrepreneurs, and BNI environment helps small and scale medium entrepreneurs to globally expand business or within the same country or within the same city. So in India, sir, last 12 months data we helped our business owners in India. We have 34,000 business people in India, and we helped our through referrals about 14,000 crore worth of business has been done amongst us just by passing referrals. There is no kickback or commission. It is purely, I'm going to help you, and then the system helps us back. So that's the type of a platform that has been built for the last 35 years. We have been growing quite well in India, stable, and we are helping many members in India even survive through this particular time frame. And I'll just wrap up here, sir. The last in the month of April, globally, we did $1 billion of business in terms of for the small and medium scale entrepreneur to help them. In a climate when everything is like broken down for a SME, we are the like one platform that supports the SME somehow survive through this crisis and then thrive once we are done. So with that, back to you, Sunil, and then you can take it forward.
Thank you, Matt. GP sir, we could introduce the panelists and we should start.
Yeah. Namaskar, Suresh ji, and welcome, Matt. My name is GP Rao. So I will introduce the guest very briefly because it takes a lot of time to talk about him. A brief introduction: a highly qualified statesman, a commerce and law graduate, a FCA, chartered accountant, he holds an honorary degree, honorary PhD. He pursues PhD in climate changes issues in relation to energy and environment from Freie University, Berlin, and state public finance from Mumbai University. He is a member of Rajya Sabha, former cabinet minister, and currently the PM's Sherpa to G7 and G20. An astute parliamentarian with an experience of handling varied portfolios in the Union cabinet. He is always remembered for the growth of commerce and industry, reforms in civil aviation, customer focus in railways, water management, optimization of production and distribution of power, pollution control measures, sustainability in chemicals and fertilizers, etc. during his tenure as a union minister. Associated with various parliamentary committees, including a chairman, Parliamentary Forum on Environment, Parliamentary Maritime Group, Cooperative Forum on Parliamentarians, Indo-Japanese Parliamentary Forum, Forum Against Fake Drugs, etc. He is the chairman of Saraswat Cooperative Bank Limited. He is an entrepreneur himself. He runs a CA firm. That's music to all our BNI members. We are talking to a successful entrepreneur also. He's a rare mix of academic excellence and execution capability. He has got a number of publications. Some of the most popular ones are the causes and consequences of mass and unemployment of youth, students unrest at Bajaj Institute of Management, problems of youth in third world countries. Presenting the former union minister, 6 times member of parliament, and current PM Sherpa for G7 and G20, Mr. Suresh Prabhu. Thank you.
Welcome.
Sir, would,
GP sir, एक बार Mark का भी मतलब you need to read the bio, and then we take it. We'll hand it over to Suresh ji and
yes,
start the meeting.
Absolutely. Suresh sir, for your kind information, our global leader from BNI Max Srinivasan is here. He lives in Singapore. He's the global CRC's president. He supports operations of BNI in company-run countries. He's a certified franchise executive accredited by the International Franchise Association. He has studied and worked in USA for 12 years with multinational companies. Mac, as I said, lives in Singapore, loves to travel across the world, watch movies, read books, and enjoy spending time with his kids. He's a firewalker, bungee jumper, and a skydiver. Mac's passion is to help others achieve goals that they would normally think is impossible. He believes that with the right network, even the impossible can become possible. Mac's vision is to impact over 1 million entrepreneurs. Over 1 million entrepreneurs grow and transform their business by December 2029. Welcome, Mac. So over to Suresh ji.
Thank you, Suresh ji. Thank you, Mac. Thank you, GP sir. Sir, over to you. We are eager to hear from you. And then we'll have some question answer at the end. We will be managing those question answers. And then, sir, thank you. Thanks a lot for coming in. And I appreciate that. And once this lockdown is over, me, Mac, and GP sir will be coming to you. And then we'll certainly express our gratitude and wish to meet you in person, sir. Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir.
So thank you, Sunil, Dr. Rao, and Mac, who is far away from here. And as Dr. Rao was explaining his hobbies and his priorities, I am really feeling sorry for you because you like to travel and you are stuck into one place.
Yes, sir.
In fact, I'm like you, who has been to more than 144 countries in my life. And I have been all the time traveling. So my son was asking me in the first 4 days when the lockdown was declared that since when you have been stuck into one single city for 4 days in a row? I said 50 years ago. So of course then, since then, I've been stuck for a much longer period, but I use this time to speak on various subjects. So 54 different subjects I've spoken in the last few days. And I'm connected with 16 global organizations in different countries. And that's the reason why I used to travel so much from my younger days to now. And now, of course, I've been in touch with them through this medium. So thank you very much for this opportunity to interact with BNI. You said 14,000 crores is the turnover that you did with yourself. That's almost close to $2 billion. Depends upon how the rupee is faring. Yeah. It's 14,000. If rupees 70, it is 2 billion. Otherwise, it is now less than that, but maybe 1.8, $1.9 billion. So it's quite a bit of a turnover. You could do that. And that shows the value of such relationship as well as how networking helps in the world. Actually, the name of the game is networking. And not just for individual businesses, but for global economies as well. When you connect better, you do more business. If you're isolated, you hardly can do anything. And there are lessons to be learned from isolationist attitude and network attitude. Globally, in our neighborhood, in probably in all businesses as well. That's why BNI stands out in terms of providing a platform to entrepreneurs to network and actually start to work together. So it's a very laudable and most workable idea. And as Mac pointed out that while supply chains are getting disrupted, your own chains are getting more integrated. And that's what will actually help in shaping tomorrow's world as well. Now, very briefly, India is now close to $3 trillion economy. And as a commerce industry minister, I had 10 cabinet positions. So one of them was commerce and industry, the last one, wherein I had prepared a roadmap for how India will reach $5 trillion economy. How is it going to happen? Because one is to set goals, which is very important. The target should be very clear. That's $5 trillion, quantifiable, visible, seeable. But at the same time, how do you reach there? The goal is very good, but strategies to reach there is also very important. And therefore, I got together top minds and I prepared a roadmap that $1 trillion, which is 20% of the GDP, or proposed GDP, $5 trillion, will come from industry. And industry includes manufacturing, mining, construction, all that. The second grouping is services, which is 60% of that 5 trillion, which is 3 trillion will come from services, for which I prepared 12 champion sectors of economy, for which much smaller amount than 14,000 crores that you talked about, but 5,000 crores was set aside to provide for promoting these 12 champion sectors of economy. These 12 champion sectors, in turn, would create huge job opportunities. Because as you know, the services are most labor-intensive activities. In future, you will see manufacturing will become less and less labor-intensive because of integration of high-end technologies, which is inevitable, also welcome, but we must also look at the social aspect of it. Therefore, services could provide that opportunity. And third was agriculture, in which 20%, today is 14.6%, we said we'll take it to 20%. In case of industry, it is 16%. So from taking from 16%, 20% is quite an effort, almost 25% of that. And second part of agriculture, I said, which is to take it from 14.6% to 20%, for which our Prime Minister's vision of doubling farmers' income. So I prepared a policy for how to increase agriculture exports from India, which is currently at $26 billion. We said we'll take it to $100 billion. And if you can take $100 billion of agriculture exports, you can imagine that much money will be going into the farmers' pockets. And that in turn will help farmer to earn more. And farmers earn more, that means rural income goes up. When that goes up, purchasing power goes up. When purchasing power goes up, spending will go up. And spending or consumption in turn will spur the economic activity. For the first vertical, which I told industry, I prepared an industrial policy, new industrial policy. We had only two industrial policies in the past, 1956, 1991. This was the third industrial policy, which is already ready, was put on the draft. I'm sure it will be released very soon. But I had a very wide consultation on all these issues. How to make India grow faster? That was a vision. And in that context, domestic policies will play a very key role. Macro level management will play a key role. But also what is necessary is while we work on top-down approach, where macro level policies will work, we also need bottoms-up approach, which is working at micro level. And unless macro and micro match, it will never work. So in that, for the first time, I launched a program for making each and every district grow by 3% more. Based on natural resources, based on human resources, based on locally available opportunities, how can we grow them 3%? We have selected 6 districts. Indian Institute of Management were involved into that, and we have made a very good progress on that. Just imagine all districts start growing at 3% more than the normal growth. Will India's growth will not be more than 3% than normal, because aggregation of all district growth is India's growth. But also it will create opportunities at a grassroots level. People will start earning more in a village, in a district. So we don't have to send money from Delhi to the village and district. District itself will be able to send money to Delhi because they will create wealth there to begin with. So we had worked on these policies as well as sectoral policies. Aviation is the third largest aviation market in the world, India's aviation. I was aviation minister. We prepared air cargo policy for the first time, policy for getting private participation into the airports, getting private participation into all other sectors. So that actually worked a lot. And as Prime Minister said, it helped even common people to fly by airlines. I had done that before making sector change. So when I was the Power Minister, I had actually drafted India's first ever dramatically changed policy reform, which is Electricity Act, which brought in $250 billion of investment to power sector generation. Same time I had started distribution reforms. We didn't, was carried out subsequently after I left the ministry. Also I had done energy efficiency law, which helped India to start the first ever energy efficiency measure way back in 2002 when I was a Power Minister 18 years ago. In fact, the first time I became minister was 1996. So actually I became cabinet minister, one of the youngest that time. And also at age of now, I can say that I was handled 10 cabinet positions of a varied nature, but each one of them was very challenging and I could put in my best effort to it and try to work on it. The point is, today, while we work on this, and that's why I think today's topic, but I wanted to give this background only to ensure that we understand it in the proper perspective. As you'll appreciate, and nobody can know it better than BNI, is a need of collaboration, need of working together. While we like to grow fast, unless we have network relationship with other countries, other markets, we'll not be able to achieve it. For example, when I did this study of $5 trillion, I realized that 50% of the GDP must come from global trade. That's $2.5 trillion. And to do that, we'll have to do many things. One of the important things would be to connect with different geographies. So let us take the first geography. There are many geographies, but I think we are discussing only 3 or 4 of them today, right? We are not discussing the whole world. So we are discussing few of them. So let me take the first geography. One is the Gulf. We have a very close relationship with the Gulf. Almost 10 million people work in that part of the world from India. We are the single largest recipient of remittances. India gets more than $80 billion of remittances, larger than Philippines, larger than China, larger than any other country, even larger than Mexico. Because Mexicans also send a lot of money back because they work in US and other places. But we have all this money. So we have the relationship with Gulf is very important. They also provide us oil. More than 2/3 of India's oil, or more than 70% of India's oil is imported. And that comes from different parts of the world, from OPEC and non-OPEC countries, and now even from US. But good part of that comes from the Gulf. So Gulf has provided employment, provided energy security, provided remittance support, and therefore it's a very important market. The other dimension to Gulf. Thanks to the boom in the oil in the past, not today. Today is a doom day, but that was a boom day. When they acquired huge money. And as a result of that, the sovereign wealth fund of Abu Dhabi, which is called Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, which is the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world, which can invest into India in a big way. So is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has already committed to invest $100 billion into India. Their sovereign wealth fund then the company like Aramco, there are other companies like SABIC, they all can actually invest into India. Oman, where as a chemicals and fertilizer minister in 1999, had set up the the gas-based urea plant in Oman, which is now one of the most successful joint venture anywhere. Incidentally, the largest investment from India into Oman came through this plant. And I was a chemicals and fertilizer minister, I approved it. In Kuwait, a very important relationship. In fact, recently, in the COVID, there's a problem. So they requested me and our Honorable Prime Minister supplied to them even doctors and medical care. Bahrain and Qatar. Qatar, as you know, used to be the biggest exporter of gas in the world. Now Australia has taken over. US is also coming in a big way. But Qatar, again, is a very important country. So all this put together, the relationship is multidimensional. We are also exporting a lot to that part of the world, and we'll be exporting now even agriculture products from India to them because we have so much of surplus. And as I said, it's part of our agriculture export policy, for which I had also adopted air cargo policy so that it can be lifted and sent there very conveniently. So Gulf offers immense opportunities to India in both ways. Either making investment from India into the Gulf, and there are so many Indians, when I say 10 million, some of them are also working in professional capacity. Some of my professional colleagues, chartered accountants, they run so many businesses in the Gulf. And therefore, Gulf is one of the very important relationship for India. The second, and you asked me to speak on the other markets, one is ASEAN, where I think MAC is located. You are in Singapore, right?
Yes, sir. I'm in Singapore.
Yeah, so you are at the heart of ASEAN.
Yes.
So ASEAN, 10 countries have a GDP which is more than $3 trillion. 10 countries. One of the most, if not the biggest, but very populous country, like Indonesia, is in ASEAN. Singapore, which is a hub of global trade in this part of the world, particularly Asia Pacific, is also in ASEAN. So is a highest per capita income country like Brunei is also part of ASEAN. And we have a FTA with ASEAN. We have preferential trade agreement as well as investment protection agreement with Singapore. And ASEAN and India, I used to have so many forums focused on them in India as well as in ASEAN. So the lesser developed countries in ASEAN, which includes Cambodia, which includes Vietnam, which includes Myanmar, which include Laos, all those countries, we also provide them a support from India on a preferential basis because they are relatively less developed than the rest of the ASEAN countries. We export a lot to ASEAN, but we import more from ASEAN. Meat, for example, is one of the major commodities that we export to Indonesia, but we also import palm oil from Malaysia. We also import other oil also from Indonesia, from Malaysia and other places. With Singapore, we have also a tax agreement, which helps Singapore, investment coming from Singapore also in India. And we have a very close relationship with ASEAN. We feel that this relationship can be further strengthened at a time when ASEAN is going to face some challenges. They're already facing, but they'll face more. Because ASEAN, all these economies of ASEAN grew because of their proximity and connectivity to the fastest growing economies as their close neighbors. First, we started with Japan. When Japan was growing very fast and to become at that time the second biggest economy after United States, and there was a time when people were thinking that Japan might even surpass the US, but then they stagnated. But as a result of Japanese economy growing, The countries in ASEAN benefited immensely. Then came Korea. Korea became another fastest growing economy. Now, the fourth largest in Asia, besides China, Japan, India, Korea. Korea is also very significant contributor to ASEAN's growth. And then lately China. In fact, China-ASEAN relationship is very unique and very important. China has few countries which they have trade deficit, and that's one of them is ASEAN. Because ASEAN exports a lot to China, and that's outsourced. But now that's why I was saying, when any of these three economies and other economies slow down, ASEAN will suffer. And ASEAN will have this problem. In fact, in mid-90s, ASEAN had a big problem because of currency crisis. And it was blamed to George Soros, because it was felt that he has withdrawn money in a way. That time Mohammad Mahathir was the prime minister at that time also, until recently. So he made that statement. But ASEAN, therefore, will need India as a partner more than any other time in the past. And therefore, that's one relationship which should be fully tapped and fully exploited to make world grow at a faster rate. Third region, we talked about, I think we talked about three, right? We talked about Gulf, then I think we talked about ASEAN, and then I'd actually suggest we should talk about Far East, right? Correct? Okay, so let me go to the Far East. As you know, all the three major countries in that region, China, Japan. China, Japan are the second and third largest economy of the world anyway, and Korea. All these countries have a remarkable economic success in the shortest possible time. Of course, no one can match the economic success of China, which took their per capita income. Now their economy is almost $15 trillion. So almost close to $11,000-12,000. It's a very significant per capita income achieved in a very shortest possible time, in less than 40 years, or 35 years actually, because now we have 42 years since they opened up the economy. But China, Japan and Korea will have their own challenges. China is facing challenge today from the global community. They will have their own issues. Japan has been for the last several years an economy which is almost flat. Though we have very close relation with Japan. In fact, Japan is one country which has not signed strategic partnership agreement with many countries in the world. India is one of the few countries where we have it. Then we have a very close organic relationship in which every once a year, Prime Minister goes from India to there and their Prime Minister comes to India, alternatively. We have a very close relationship. I had signed an agreement with Japan I had signed means I was not signed it, but I was the railway minister at that time, though it was negotiated by other team. The first ever Shinkansen project, high-speed railway project, wherein we got money at unbelievable rate. 50 years repayment at 0.1% interest rate. 0.1% interest rate. First 15 years moratorium. So with that, and again, ODA assistance from Japan is significant to India, the largest recipient of ODA from Japan to India. And we have a very close relationship with Japan, even trade-wise. Again, with Japan, we have a trade deficit. Korea. The Korean company's investment in India is rapidly increasing, and I can see even upswing in that in the years to come. Korea has a very diversified portfolio in India, from automobiles to chemicals to infrastructure, many things. And the Korean companies have very well integrated with the Indian ecosystem. So Korea will also rise with Japan. we have the highest trade, the biggest trading partner for India, but we have the highest trade deficit. In fact, for the first time ever, since we started trade with China, every year the trade deficit was only widening, widening and widening. It never even narrowed. My time, first time, I reduced it by $12 billion in 1 year. Unprecedented. 1 year. Huge trade deficit was narrowed because I worked very aggressively on that. But we have a different kind of relationship with us, with East Asia. And I think all this together, were very interesting idea. With ASEAN, we have a free trade agreement. With Japan and Korea also, we have a free trade agreement. And close to East Asia, you can say, with Australia and New Zealand, we don't have agreement, but we have a trade with them. So now we look forward to all these relationship assuming a different kind of dimension. Some will get strengthened, with some will have a little reconfiguration. And I think in that context, there will be business opportunities. Because whenever there is a different change in the perspective, change in the relationship, the openings come in. Without opening, you cannot do anything. So BNI members also, if a new member comes in, there's an opportunity because reconfiguration takes place. The same way, opportunities will rise with the regions, all the regions, with Gulf, with ASEAN, with East Asia. With Gulf, we don't have a FTA, but we have this relationship which I explained to you. With ASEAN, we already have for a long time, and with some other countries individually also, like in Singapore. So I think we'll see over a period of time a very interesting new dimension to this relationship. In that context, the BNI members can play a very key role. Because BNI members should look at the opportunities from all over the world, obviously, but today I would have talked about all the world also because I dealt with them. In fact, I have interacted, I've been to, as I said, 144 countries in my life. I started many years ago in my different capacities because of my involved with 16 global organizations. But while I do that, also I have interacted when I was a commerce minister with more than 110 countries, either at the president level or the prime minister level or the business head level or at a delegation level. But I have either met them in India, went there, talked to them. I have done all that to forge closer relationship. But I realized that you can do so much as a government, but you must have business to business relationship more. That's the job of a BNI. If you don't have businesses coming in and forging partnership, relationship, and making business with each other, the trade potential will never be realized. And therefore, I'm very happy that you are playing that role, playing it so effectively, efficiently. And already, the result of the best test of pudding is in eating it. So I think you're already showing the result on the table of few $1 billion of business already transacted with intra-membership relationship. So I think that's a very interesting facet to this. So in that context, I think, as Mac mentioned, you are all SMEs. SMEs will have challenges as well as opportunities. Challenges to survive in this global, most challenging economic situation ever faced by the world. Ever faced. Even in 30s was not as bad as it is today. But the advantage of SME also is that the flexibility, the versatility. If you have a very large car, it takes time to turn around. But if you have a two-wheeler, you can turn it very fast. So SMEs have the ability to adapt to the new changes better than others. Because you have the versatility, the adaptability, the flexibility, which is necessary for bringing change at such a short time. So I think we should try to take advantage of this huge potential that lies from India to Gulf on one side, which is west of India, and to east of India, which is ASEAN and Far East. I think you can work on those markets very effectively. You'll be able to get a lot of benefits in the years to come. One day, I could have discussed with you, but I have to go for some other program. That's why I already said that I would like to leave little early. So I will be stopping here, but if there are few questions I can take, but really few because I have to go for another event. As I said, I keep doing this more than 100 programs on 54 different subjects. So I will have to go for some other program, but I will be definitely happy to take, say, about 2, 3 more questions as you want. So I'll stop here so that there is enough time to answer questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. You have covered so much of rich stuff for us in so simple terms in so short time. And you took us to a brief sojourn to the Gulf, ASEAN, and the Far East countries. And you also ended your discourse with a motivation to the SMEs with those encouraging words that SMEs will have both challenges and the opportunities. And your line is business to business relation is the job of BNI. I'm sure Mac and all of us have taken note of it. So with that, sir, we will take a few questions. Sunil will be able to help us. Okay.
प्रभु जी, थैंक्स अ लॉट एंड हम आपसे मिलते रहेंगे एंड उम्मीद करते हैं कि मतलब आगे भी आपके एसोसिएशन हमारे साथ बरकरार रखेंगे और जो मेंबरशिप हमारे साथ है in rest of the countries, we wish to have some support on that. Mark, do you have some question to speak to, sir?
So the main thing is that what I've noticed is that BNI in some way or form is kind of the best kept secret worldwide. We haven't really marketed ourselves, but we are an organization of entrepreneurs who are looking for expanding, and some of the things that so you told us today now gives us a better mindset on which markets, where should we focus our business on. So in the future, we'd like to see how, everybody knows NASSCOM, everybody knows CII and other organizations like that. We'd like to see how we can have a more specific engagement where we are able to support the initiatives by the government or take inputs from the government, because then our small and medium scale entrepreneurs can focus on those particular industries and then grow their business. So maybe in the future, there is any ways that we could collaborate or be a sounding board or be like a test platform. We'd be glad to cooperate and collaborate on that.
Actually, I think you should get out of, you said the right thing is mindset. So same way you should get out of the thinking that government should guide you what you should be doing. In fact, this is the other way around. Governments are not in business, so therefore you should guide the government that this is what the direction government should take.
Exactly. So
government gives you a direction.
Yeah, it's mostly collaborations. Where do we head out?
Therefore, what you should try to do is the success of business lies in entrepreneurship. And governments are not entrepreneurs. Okay. So some of us like me have joined the government as from being an entrepreneur into managing the state. But I think you should be looking at opportunities on the marketplace. That's where you will succeed. And if you don't do that, maybe for short term there may be some upswing, but long term it will never be sustainable. So therefore, I advise you, my suggestion as a friend is focus on markets. Try to understand where the trend is, what is going to come. And in the 60s in India, 70s in India, the government used to tell what technology you should use, what you should do. And we have seen the disastrous result of that. So it's not going to work. And in my opinion, it's not the right approach at all. So please focus on this overall direction which I told you. You can give information to the government. So this is what you should do. Like, for example, investment protection treaty, for example, or entering into new FTAs. Something like that, you can advise the government that this is what will give benefit. And this is a cost-benefit analysis. Therefore, you should try to do that. That should be the right approach. So my suggestion to you would be, please focus on opportunities emanating from different markets, and those opportunities don't remain stagnant. At the same time, they keep changing. It's a dynamic world. For example, somebody had told you 5 years ago that invest in oil. He was right. Now the same person tells you, I told you, you keep investing in oil. Then what will happen to you? Because today the oil is down. So this keeps changing. So I think you should try to keep your ears to the ground, understand what's happening, and take corrective steps.
Our network is, even if you take the verticals, though we are spread out across India, if you take real estate, all the real estate members have their own like a vertical network. So we're able to understand what's happening, the pulse in the marketplace, or jewelries, or even dentists. So we are all having like common groups within our BNI network itself. And so there's a lot of industry challenge, sometimes industry knowledge that is available, that we could probably provide inputs back to the ministry as and when needed, and see how we can collaborate mainly, and help entrepreneurs. The main dream is that for every entrepreneur that we create in India, at least 10 families are benefited. My dream for India is at least 1 lakh entrepreneurs are part of the BNI system. That means 10 lakh families are fed. So that's the dream that we are having, and that's what we're focused on helping entrepreneurs. So most of the times, like you have large corporates like Tatas and Birlas and Reliances, they have immediate access in so many countries because of their size. Over the years, they've grown to that size. For a BNI entrepreneur who joins BNI, they have almost like the similar type of reach across 70 countries. Anytime they can pick up a phone or make a connection or start a business or get a vendor or supply a product. That's the type of network, but it's mainly geared for the SME segment. So we want to create more of an impact in India and help more people.
Now, see, some sectors are very badly affected as a result of this current situation. And as you mentioned, these two are very badly affected. Undoubtedly, construction is probably the worst sufferer. It's debatable whether aviation, hospitality, tourism is badly affected or construction is badly affected. But they can be clubbed into service category and construction in the other category. So I think construction is also very badly affected, which is one of the biggest employment provided in the country. The labor intensity of construction is very high. We have to be conscious of reviving that sector. The second is gems and jewelry, which people don't realize that they employ more than 8-9 million people in the country, or maybe 10 million people in the country. And the diamonds and the Gems and Jewelry Export Promotion Council is one of the major exporter of products from India. Now their exports are down 70%. So, which is a very big challenge. So those many jobs are affected in construction as well as in jewelry, as you mentioned. And in diamonds particularly, we do labor intensive job because we import diamonds, rough diamonds, we polish and we send it back. So now we send it back to what market? The developed markets, the countries in Europe, countries in US, which are in bad shape. So I think we must understand the challenge is going to come in next 2 years' time, is that we must put our domestic policies in proper shape, but at the same time, on which we have control. We can put a domestic policy, but there are certain issues on which we have no control, like the international markets. And for medium term, all the so-called established markets which are providing opportunities to India are going to be in big trouble. US may not recover so soon. Europe has always been in problem, and US and Europe both were already in problem even before the crisis started. The IMF was already saying there's a synchronized slowdown. So we have a very big problem on that. Then Japan, Korea will also be in difficulties. Of course, we have not been exporting too much to ASEAN, to jewelry and others, but we still do some. I think we have a big challenge because of both domestic demand as well as the global challenging situation. So I think as entrepreneurs, we'll have to think about a strategy, factoring all this into your business plan. Otherwise, you'll have a big difficulty. I'm telling you as a friend, because I realize that you're all youngsters willing to take risk and have succeeded so well. So congratulations for that. But also be little careful about medium term, which is not going to be as good as it was in the previous. See, those when you are actually going with the wind, you can go very fast. But if you are now trying to work in a direction when wind is blowing into you, and therefore there are headwinds, we'll have a big challenge into that. So the businesses will have to keep that in mind very effectively. risk taking is a good idea, but blind risk is not a good idea. So getting into a ditch, knowing fully well that I'm going to fall, is maybe good adventure, but not necessarily a very wise decision. So I think we'll have to think about it very carefully and work on that. So thank you very much. Because I always look at my watch. I always go on time, leave on time. So there is 2 minutes in case you want to ask me something quickly. I'll be able to answer.
Sunil, there's 1 or 2 questions on the chat bar if you'd like to ask any of those.
Yeah.
Sunil?
One of the questions that maybe we wish to ask is that people want to know about maybe, sir, if it is permitted to share on certain things, wherein that what are those immediate measures that the government would be taking to help the MSMEs particularly? That is what one question which was pertainingly coming up. So if it is in our premises, you wish to answer that, sir.
We just announced, the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister both announced some help for SMEs, particularly guaranteeing loans by the government for the banks, so that banks will not be hesitant to give loans to the SMEs because their risk appetite is not good. Therefore, now the risk is completely mitigated by taking these measures. I hope that helps. But I know SMEs have a far bigger wish list, and rightly so. Because I feel SMEs are a very key component of India's economy in terms of job creation, in terms of exports, in terms of adding value to the economic activity. So I think their expectation is far bigger and far more. I hope we'll be able to fulfill that. But I thank all of you for this great opportunity. I think we'll definitely, as you said, we'll meet after the lockdown very soon. So Sunil is in Delhi, and of course Mac is in Singapore. I don't know whether Dr. Rao, where are you best?
So I'm in Delhi, sir.
Delhi?
Delhi.
Okay. So at least good to know that the doctor is not far away. So we can always count on you for a help when it is needed. I think now we need different kinds of doctors. Doctor for economy, doctor for social issues, but also doctor for health, because that is what ultimately is going to decide whether we're going to survive. So all the best to you. And thank you very much for this great opportunity. Not as regular member of BNI, but as your honorary member, I will be able to support you anytime you want and work with you very closely. So thank you very, very much.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Looking forward to it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Friends, we would request Mac to stay on for a few more minutes, and you can ask questions to him.
Maybe we should use the Q&A bar. Rao, sir, you can pick it up from Q&A bar. Let's avoid, maybe non-related questions. What will happen to one particular specific industry.
I wanted to thank you and Rao for putting this event together, right? This is a complete broad landscape. Whenever we listen to somebody who's got the overall India's interest in mind as far as commerce go, I learned so many things from the 3 different marketplaces, the Gulf, the Asian and the Far East. And these are countries where I have traveled in many times, like to Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. So when he's speaking, I was able to relate a lot more. And also when he says that we're exporting a lot, but we're also importing a lot from these countries, that China has a deficit with the Asian. So it gives you a much broader perspective than what's, every day we're just doing our own day-to-day stuff, right? And we are, by interacting with people like Sureshji, what happens is it gives us a much more broader perspective, and you never know when that knowledge will come in handy. It may come in handy 6 months from now or 3 months from now. There may be a deal or could be something else. Then because of this discussion, it keeps you better knowledgeable to react. So thanks for organizing this. I really enjoyed this interaction.
Thank you, Mac. Thanks a lot. Rao, sir, 1 or 2 questions to Mac, because I know that Mac has a training now coming up. We are, back to back. It is busier than ever. So, but then Mac, another 5 minutes, maybe a couple of questions.
I think the questions in the Q&A box were different. No, they were, I think, addressed to Suresh Prabhuji. I think let's take the questions that were meant for Mac. So, Visitor, he answered, and one-to-one that he answered. And there was one question on that BNI market. In one of the meetings, Mac had hinted about it.
Yeah, so that is still in progress. We are starting to talk to some companies like Amazon. Later on, I have a meeting today. Yesterday, I had a meeting with another company just to understand how we can collaborate with them, or how they can, like how today we're using Zoom as a tool, right? We're using it as a platform, BNI Online. After evaluating many vendors, then we picked Zoom at that point in time. Like that, now we're evaluating different vendors in India and abroad to see how it can be a global platform for us. It is a next new project like a BNI Online for BNI, and I'm kind of heading that project now, and I have a team already defined who's helping me evaluate these different vendors. My first vision for it is to deploy it in India and then leverage it and test it out before we're able to then deploy it across the world. This goal is very simple. You already have a BNI membership, and on top of that, to be able to build a marketplace on top of the BNI membership, where the BNI member can list their product or service, and then it is globally available. Like you can sell it in B2C, similar to how you would list your product on Amazon. I don't intend to rebuild an Amazon. That's not my intent, but it's mainly to partner with somebody who's already got that logistics experience, and that we are able to provide that as an added value to our members. And also for alumni, right? If we have a lot of alumni in BNI, and if they have been through the BNI system, and then they can continue to be on the marketplace, and continue to add value to the BNI fraternity. It's an exciting thing to start with. It's a huge dream of mine. For 2 years, that has been a dream, just like how the Hindi MSP came to fruition now.
Yes.
Now this is also coming to fruition after 2 years of talking about this dream. Because I'll tell you how this happened, Sunil. The thing is, every time people used to reach out to me, Mac, give me a connection in Vietnam. Mac, I need this in China. Mac, I need this in Malaysia. Connect me. And every time I'm sending these requests out to the ND, I thought, how do I solve this thing? Best, why don't I just make them put their products on a marketplace? And if I'm looking for a certain vendor, I could just reach out. Look, I need to buy mattresses from China. Immediately, you know who's there. So they become vendors for you. So, or you need to collaborate with somebody across the world. It gives you better access than what we have currently in BNI Connect.
True, man. Good. True, man. Very, very, very valuable and very good initiative. So we are looking forward to that. So,
Mac, somebody has written expecting Macajon. Like Amazon, it's Macajon.
There's a question here from Himanshu saying, how long is BNI planning to work on the online? Himanshu, if you were to go now to outside, I'm sure your family and are going to be more cautious, right? So I think we will be online. The first touch point will be somewhere in October. We will take a view of it. But if you ask me, guys, I'm just telling you, from my gut feeling, it'll be probably for the rest of this year, just for the safety of our members. The world will become calmer. Believe me, it will become calmer as soon as we find the medicine, or once we have a vaccine in place. Till then, we are just risking our lives if we start meeting in very large groups. And if you take the case of South Korea, right, when they released it, and just one evening in a club led to another huge cluster. We don't want BNI's name to be associated with, hey, look, a cluster has formed out of a BNI chapter meeting. And that is not just the branding issue. We are really, really concerned about our BNI members' health, and also the members' families' health. So at least in the countries of India, China, Sri Lanka, and Singapore, which I directly manage now, I'm looking more of a one touch point I'll see in October, and the second touch point will be in December.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for that.
Right, Sunil?
Right, sir. So, Mark, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for coming in. We are not taking too much of your time. We are looking forward to meet you more often into this part of the globe and with the members. So, thank you for coming in, Mark. And,
thank you.
Thanks a lot. And
thanks,
thank you, Raj, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you all the members and participants who joined. So we'll come back to you soon. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.